Today's sponsor is 3D Bear, an amazing augmented reality programming app for the classroom. Join us next Wednesday, December 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern for the Teaching with Augmented Reality webinar. Stay tuned at the end of the show to learn how to register. Hey, remarkable teachers. Today, for episode 404, is student-authored interviews, an empowering way to help kids lead. And I would encourage you, when you have people on your campus, can your students author the interviews?
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
So as I travel the world, I'm always on the lookout for amazing educators. And when I run into people like I did with Richard Collada in Moscow recently, he was telling me about Daniel Miyake from LA and his student interviewers. So Daniel is on the show today. Daniel, tell us about your students and who are they interviewing?
Yes, Vicki, thank you very much for that introduction. Like you, I had an opportunity to work together with Mr. Richard Collada, the ISTE CEO, and he inspired us here at our school. And what happened was that one of our student leaders, student ambassadors here at our school, was able to interview him. During the interview, she questioned him about how he empowers students through the use of technology. And one of the main takeaways that she had from this interview was the fact that technology is a way to empower others through the use of empathy. Students are going to be using empathy with others while they're using technology. And I think Mr. Collada inspired us to believe that technology is a way for us here in our school to become global collaborators and creative communicators here at our school so that we can think beyond the walls of our school, so we can move our use of technology more towards, like Puente Dura calls it, substitution, augmentation, more towards to modification, redefinition. So that's where we're trying to head with this.
Now, he's not the only person that your students have interviewed. So how do these interviews work? And you call them student ambassadors. Tell me a little bit about the student ambassadors and some of these other interviews.
Yes, definitely. At our school, the student voice is very valued. We have a clear vision at our school, which recognizes the power of student voice. And the clear vision stands for community, leadership, empathy, academic integrity, and reflection. This is the foundation for our school, and it is the vision of our school that allows students to have these conversations, have these interviews with such leaders in the field of education, like ISTE CEO, Mr. Collada, like Mr. Resnick from Scratch, the founder of the SAMR model, Puente Dura. So students think of ways in which they can interact with these leaders in the field. They talk to them about how they can bring their ideas that are transforming education throughout the world into our own school community, and then use those ideas in a way that's in a fashion that's going to allow them to think of their education differently. Students, what they do here is we have a media lab in place here. And so we have an interview section of our media lab that allows students to sit down with any of the important leaders in the international education community who come to our school and visit our school. And then they sit down and they interview them in the media lab. And what allows them to be successful during these interviews is our vision. So for a clear example of that would be when Richard Collada was being interviewed by our student leader, Tatiana Quinones. She was able to listen very intently to what he was saying and then use words from our vision and ideas from our vision to move the conversation forward and to empathize with the conversation that he was having. During the conversation, Mr. Collada talked to Tatiana about his experiences in Guatemala, where he was using technology to help the education system in Guatemala. And she was able to notice that empathy was being utilized heavily with those students in Guatemala, and how the students were able to empathize with the actual technology itself too. So students are utilizing these values that they have gathered from our vision in order to have conversations with these leaders.
Wow. So what do you do with the interviews, Daniel? Do you share them with
Yes.
other teachers, other students, or these broadcasts? Where do they go?
Right. The interviews are shared within our school, but also with the entire district. The interviews have been broadcast through KLCS, which is our local affiliated TV station with Los Angeles Unified School District. As you know, LA Unified is the second largest district in the nation, so it has a powerful presence, I guess you could say, in the field of education. Because as we go, other districts in the nation try to continue to follow along too, because we're generally in the news a lot for what we do, because we're such a large district. And so they are broadcast there on our local TV station, and they're also utilized as teaching tools within our own school, so that students can learn how to interview others, how to utilize the vision.
You've done these 3 interviews. How do you feel like it's transmitting or transforming more students than just the student interviewers?
Yes. That's a great question. So how it does that is it's through a mindset. As you know, it's very important to develop a vision within any organization. If you look at the vision for the ISTE standards, Mr. Collada talks about how the concepts of like global collaboration, creative communication, talks about digital citizenship. And once you have that mindset in place, that turns into like a vision for how he wants technology to be utilized in the classroom. And that's the same process we're trying to do here. When students are watching the videos that take place, and we're watching the interviews that take place, they notice how the student has as a foundation our vision, and is able to utilize ideas of empathy and reflection and leadership and community in order to communicate effectively with somebody who is already established in the field of education.
So if other schools want to set up student interviewer programs, have you made any mistakes that you can warn the rest of us about so we don't make those same mistakes?
Definitely. The mistakes happen if you are not prepared. So it's very important to prepare the student interviewer with the mindset. And that mindset of preparation takes place through the development of your school-wide vision, your organizational vision. If you've done your research, I'm sure many of you guys have done your research on the power of the vision. If you look at Dr. Cotter's research in the Harvard Business School, he talks about the power of organizational vision. And if you cannot communicate your vision in less than 5 minutes and show how that vision is driving your organization, you're in for a heap of trouble. So same thing with a student interview. With a student interview, the child needs to have a foundation for themselves to conduct that interview. And so they're listening very carefully and intently to these interviews that are taking place. They're listening to the speaker. In this case, it was Mr. Collada. She listens very carefully to him, and then she's able to conduct that interview. If the student is not prepared, does not have a foundation to stand upon, she's not going to be able to conduct that interview. So that's one of the biggest takeaways we have from this.
Could you give us a 30-second pep talk on the importance of empowering student voice?
Yes, definitely. It starts with the mindset of the teacher inside the classroom, thinking about empowering the student voice, thinking about the shared leadership, thinking about who's driving the thought inside of the classroom. So when you start with the student as the driver of the thought that's taking place inside the classroom, then you're empowering those students. Here at our school and in our classroom, we really value the student voice. And whenever somebody is important coming to our school, or we're having a back to school night or an open house, the students are the lead in this. So whenever a dignitary comes to our school, they're the first ones to greet them, and they are the ambassadors who guide them through the entire school, and they provide them with the information about our school. So it's about empowering the student voice at all times through a mindset where you're looking for opportunities to empower the students.
So thank you, Daniel. I think that we have a lot here, not just about student voice, but also about vision for your students, and the transformational power of vision when it's communicated to everyone in a school.
Yes.
Thanks, Daniel.
All stakeholders, yes.
3D Bear is a fun augmented reality app for the classroom. It links together augmented reality and me and my students. Augmented reality is a new tool for the classroom and needs new pedagogies. Join us Wednesday night, December 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern, as I co-moderate a panel of augmented reality teacher enthusiasts as we discuss the pedagogies of augmented reality in the classroom. To register, go to coolcatteacher.com/AR webinar and join us. Also, stay tuned for a blog post review of 3D Bear on the Cool Cat Teacher blog. So again, you can register at coolcatteacher.com AR webinar. It's going to be fun. I hope you can join us.
Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.